Sponsored by Joe Duffy Group, Ireland's leading motor group, representing 21 brands nationwide for sales, service and parts. Think cars, think joeduffy.ie.
When are you going to see that man for what he is?
Which one of us are they going to believe, I do wonder?
And it's coming closer.
Hello and welcome to Hooked on the Deceived with me, Muireann O'Connell. It's our companion podcast to the psychological drama penned by Derry Girls creator Lisa McGee and Tobias. Now, episode 3, it was full to the brim of treachery, deceit and topped with a little bit of lust. Poor Ophelia, her mental state, it's on the ropes. A mysterious stranger turns up in town brandishing Michael's book, and let's just say he's not there looking for an autograph, while Michael, on the other hand, will flirt with anyone willing to massage his oversized, we call it his ego? We have so much to discuss in this week's podcast. Plus, we'll be talking to Lisa McGee and Tobias all about creating their Hitchcock-inspired thriller. But first, we turn our attention to Catherine Walker, who plays the very successful novelist Roisin Mulvery in The Deceived. We all thought Roisin was dead, that she was gone. But at the very end of episode 3, like Lazarus, she has returned from the grave. Here's one of my favourite clips of Roisin when she meets Ophelia for the very first time in The Deceived.
You're reading English, Ophelia?
Yes.
You might know Michael, my husband.
That's right.
He's just published his first novel. Reviews are annoyingly good. Whereas I've just spent the last 10 minutes listening to some dreary old Don explain my own work to me. Apparently, it's not bad for popular fiction. She came as a huge relief, you can imagine.
Oh dear, that's not good.
Patronising prick. Michael knows how to play to these people, but I find it difficult.
No, some of the men are awful.
And the women. They have more sophisticated methods of locking you out, but they're no better.
It's a terribly unfashionable thing to say. But not all women are allies, Ophelia. Some are the enemy. Right? I think that's as close as we're going to get it.
I think you look amazing.
That's very sweet of you. One piece of advice. Don't start all this until you absolutely have to. Once you start the deceit, you're chasing your face to the grave.
That's one of my favourite scenes from The Deceived. There's so much in it, and I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast now Catherine Walker, who plays Roisin. Hello, how are you doing, Catherine?
I'm great. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
That scene that we just saw, it's from episode 1, and it really lays the groundwork for an awful lot about Roisin and Ophelia. When she says that not all women are allies, what do you think Roisin means there, Catherine?
Oh, I think there's a lot going on. It's a brilliant scene, isn't it? It's a brilliantly written scene. I remember actually, that scene just jumping out at me when I read the scripts. It's such great writing from Lisa and Tobias. There's just so much in there. I think, there's a lot going on. I don't know whether she's speaking specifically to Ophelia, but she's definitely in a place, as a much more successful, she's much more successful than Michael. So he kind of uses the fact that younger women are quite attracted to him because he's a very attractive man. And so I think, I think that she's generally uneasy, So she kind of knows that there's always, there's always that going on, potentially going on with him and his students. So, so she has to, I don't think in any way that she's marking her territory in so much as kind of just, telling her to take care. I think the masks are off there as well, which is really good. I think they're speaking woman to woman about how difficult it is to maneuver in this man's world,
Well, with that, do you think that scene, I've thought about it so much, and it's that it's not Michael's fault if one of these younger girls comes onto him. It feels like Roisin's like, no, it's not his fault. Because do you think he has her under the thumb like that?
Well, I think he plays, he plays on her self-doubt. Roisin is, hugely commercially successful, but not necessarily accepted in his academic intellectual circles, as much as she would like to be. And, you see through her mother that, she doesn't come from this most stable place, I would say. So the foundations aren't very strong there. So, I think he plays on that with her and on her own insecurity. And I think, Emmet and I spent a lot of time talking about them as kind of a power couple, Yeah. And I think they got together, and that's really part of their attraction. So in some way, I think, the way if somebody's saying to you, oh, you're so jealous, or, you drank too much, what are you talking about? You're imagining something. You kind of blame yourself, don't you? You go, well, God, it's just that I'm very jealous. I'm a very jealous type, as opposed to seeing, that what is actually going on with some of the students, So I think it's that. I think it's the gaslighting in it. I think he kind of confuses her about her own jealousies and her own perceptions and her own self-doubts. You kind of go...
With that self-doubt, was she sort of ripe for him to kind of pick her? Because she is this successful author, but yet we see scenes where she's been spoken down to, where her books are being mansplained back to her, and that you can be successful, but you're still a woman. Do you think that equality, that lack of equality is there?
Totally. I think that's what's brilliant about how it's written. It's really, really cleverly written. And I think all the time, you're looking at that power play. She's having to manage him all the time. You see her in episode 2 at the book launch, where she has to look after him. He can't just be there and support him. She has to make sure he's okay. She has to make sure his ego's okay, that he feels powerful in the room, So that's there all the time, a kind of uneasiness with it. And I think it's that thing, isn't it? I think it was probably the very thing that attracted him to her. He wants that power and success, but it's not happening for him. And I think as it goes on, she's becoming more and more successful, and he's really struggling with that. And so it's a really interesting dynamic to play.
It is. It's because he's struggling that, and we see it before. He was always there. Like we even see in episode 3, they do a flashback to 7 years ago, and he wants her to wear a certain dress. She doesn't want to keep on drinking, and he makes her keep on drinking. So it's not just her success, but he probably spotted that she was going to be successful and he wouldn't be able to handle it. So the gaslighting in this, he's laid the foundation for a long, long time with Roisin.
Yes. Totally. And I think it was something that you said there, which I think is really true, that he spotted something within her as well. I think, she comes from a place, I think she's kind of run away a bit. That's always how I imagine, she's run away and has adopted a lot of masks and a new personality to kind of get away from her background, And so I think he spots that you don't have to scratch too far to find out that, she isn't actually inherently got great self-esteem. Do you know what I mean? And so I think he knows that. And also he does that thing where it becomes all about him. So you kind of see him kind of push her away from her friends. Yeah. And, so he becomes more and more important. So it becomes more and more desperate, doesn't it, in a way? Because he's the center of her world. And without him, she's kind of, because she's left her, she's running away essentially from her background and has adopted this new identity, without him, who is she,
And it feels like, because that's it, her best friend Ruth, she just won't believe her. She runs away from her. She's very isolated. But when she comes home, it's interesting about her background, because I think Mary is one of the most fantastic characters in this, played brilliantly by Eleanor Methven. She's so sinister, but yet she's your friend. It's fantastic. Do you think Mary was so willing to go along with this plan, and she seems as well to be under Michael's thumb. She'll do whatever he wants. But is that because she wants her little girl Roisin? Like the room is still like as Roisin was a child. It's all a bit mad.
Yeah, it is. I think, they're properly codependent, I think. Mary and Roisin, I think there's proper codependency there, and a lot of, I think a bit like, I always think of Mary as a survivor, So I think she's very much gone, you've got a good one there. Do you know what I mean? Hold on to him. You've got a good man there, and, you're upwardly mobile and all of that kind of stuff. So I think, she's under his spell as well.
Yeah.
She isn't kind of pushing her daughter for independence. As you said, there's a room full of girls' toys.
Yeah.
Not really encouraging her, going, you can stand on your own 2 feet, love. Do you know what I mean?
Completely,
So,
even though she's incredibly successful in her own right.
Yeah.
And we just had the big reveal. Roisin isn't dead. She's there in that creepy room drinking tea. What's in this flippin' tea? What was the reaction to Roisin not being dead from when you read it, from when friends and family found out?
I know, it's great, isn't it? Because I had things completely wrong as well, and you get so used to, as an actor, we know formulas of scripts. Do you know what I mean? You read, script arrives and you go, it's just because that's what we do and we know. I have no clue with this. So I had the same thing. But also I was a bit like, where am I? Do you know what I mean? And yeah, totally. I don't think you see it coming, and it continues to do that right to the end. Right to the end.
It really does. Thank you so much for being able to creep me out by appearing at windows and in rooms with scary music. Catherine Walker as Roisin Mulvey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Great to talk to you.
Catherine Walker, who plays Roisin Mulvey, thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely loving your work. So good. There is only one more episode to go, and no doubt it'll have to be an explosive finale, right? Thank you so much for spending time with us on Hooked on the Deceived. We'll talk to you soon.
You're not the first. You won't be the last.
And it's coming closer.
My wife is dead.
We set it in motion.
When are you going to see that man for what he is?
You're not well.
No, please.
Which one of us are they going to believe? I do wonder.
And it's coming closer.
Now on Hooked on the Deceived, we are going to turn our attention to episode 3, and I'm joined by our intrepid team of drama sleuths, Nadine Reid and Gordon Rochford. Darlings, hello.
Hello.
What did you call me? You're a sleuth. You're a sleuth.
You dirty sleuth.
Put that on the CV as soon as you get out of here. Episode 3 is where everything comes out of the wash. We start with a flashback scene and we end essentially with it all about to unravel in Michael's life.
Like an old penny's jumper.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, falling apart.
Now, the flashback scene, because this is all about Michael keeping it all together. Mm-hmm. This whole episode, keeping everyone off their guard. Now, the flashback scene is 7 years ago in Knockdara around Christmas time, when Ruth and Matthew, Roisin and Michael's friends, have come to celebrate Christmas with them. Now, a lot goes on in this scene, I think personally, because it shows that Michael definitely has these controlling tendencies over Roisin.
And I think everybody else at the table.
Yeah. So she wants to stop drinking. He won't let her stop drinking. She's wearing a certain dress. He makes her change into a different dress.
Yeah, who does that?
Creepy.
Some Michael Douglas shit going on.
That is some stuff. Some
Take off them
stuff
clothes,
going on there.
more clothes.
And when it gets to the stage of they announce their engagement and Ruth says, Matthew's like, oh, there'll be babies soon. And Ruth is like, Roisin might adore someone more than Michael. How will you cope? And Michael's like, I don't think I possibly could. Yeah. That's when we see he wants this woman all to himself and everyone else, right?
Completely.
Yeah, Ruth, like the alarm bells for Ruth are ringing. And we can see that then as the episodes go on. Even in the last episode when Michael and Ruth are having a fight in her office, like she has his number straight away. But poor old Matthew, when he saw the engagement ring, his poor little heartine melted. I
thought we were going a bit Brokeback Mountain then. I was like, all along, is he pansexual? I was really excited for something to happen. Then I realised Michael, as usual, manipulating another person. Yeah. This time it's Matthew, Black Matthew. And I'm like,
I'm just going to call him Matthew, Nadine.
Sorry.
No, but you can call him whatever you like.
I always count the number of black people in shows, though. I do that. Do you not do that with Irish people?
No.
Do you not?
Because we just don't if it's an Irish show, I'm going to take a long time to be counting the amount of Irish people in a show.
If you were watching an American show, you not count the amount of Irish people in that show?
If there was ever one like Grey's Anatomy, I'm like, there's one. Look at us there. Well done.
Sorry about
Fair
that.
play to you.
Sorry,
I'm a doctor.
We don't talk like that.
Yeah, so poor old Matthew, he gave it one last shot though, even after the engagement ring went on, and he was just we didn't see like below chest height on the camera, so who knows what was going on down there. But I presume it was just kind of like a let's touch
But he
tips.
officially declares his love for Michael as Michael's topless, and it's night, and they meet outside the bathroom, and Michael takes it all in, and makes a decision then and there. To give him just a little peck on the cheek.
Yeah.
And then he's got Matthew in his pocket for the rest of his life. Because Matthew's like, oh, he really does feel something for me. Maybe there's a bit of hope.
Maybe one day.
Keep the pilot light of gay love alive. Just to see. Maybe he'll turn.
And what do we think about Michael in this episode? Like, this is when the audience get to see through him entirely. Mm-hmm. And the two people who see through him, Ruth and his dad, Hugh.
And a little bit of Ophelia towards the end. She starts to go, well, now... But yeah, definitely Ruth has his number, and
completely.
Even our new addition, Richard. Is that his name? Richard also,
the second black guy.
Doesn't black guy number 2.
So that's
can we get
two.
a bell? Is there a bell we can get for
their account
every time you mention
that we have here?
There really should be a bell. But no, Ruth is like the Agatha Christie of the whole lot of them, isn't she? She's the one that calls it out from the off. And I was like, you know what, Ruth, go on. I think she's the only one with actual true detective skills.
She also
everybody.
has compassion for Roisin. She's worried about her. She's getting voicemails. She went to Matthew. She's like, dude, our mate is missing. And the fella she's married with is a psychopath. Like, what's going on? And he's like, no, he's not. He's lovely.
He
like
loves
she's hammering hard at the Michael is strange.
But they led us down a road with Ruth, didn't they, in the other episodes that we thought she might have been crazy and obsessed with Michael. They really did that very well. And now we find out that she's the one who's seen through him the entire time, and she wants to find out what's actually going on with Roisin. So that was really well planted with all of this. Now let's talk about Richard a little bit. This is our new character who's arrived in Knockdara. He's looking for his sister Annabelle. And we see a picture of Annabelle, and it turns out she's the woman that Michael was fighting with all the way back in episode 1.
When Ruth warned Ophelia looking out the window, you want to be careful about him.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the crack was. We get to see the little flashback as well. But I think the biggest part of this is...
Come on, what's the biggest part?
The most important part is they need to have better security at funerals in Donegal, because it seems like anybody can just walk up to a funeral and be like, j'accuse murder. Like, it's very lackadaisical. But you can see when Michael and like Richard comes over and goes, all right, bruv, can I have a word? Can I have a word in your show, like? And he brings him over to the side, and Michael is like, well, maybe you could give me an old kiss. I have a lovely mustache. And he's like, no, it's not happening. There's only one gay black guy in this show. And
His name is Matthew. And
Michael is, or Richard is just like, I'm immune to your charms. I'm looking for my sister. What's the crack? Like he gives it to him hard, and Michael realizes, like, as with Ruth, there's no chance of manipulation. I'm out. Pulls the parachute. You know?
Because throughout all of this, you do think that Michael could lob the gob on anyone at any stage. And
I think that's maybe you, Muireann.
No, because
that's your eternal hope.
But with Matthew, he wants it. Do you know, we've got Ophelia, we've got Ruth, Mary at some stage. I'm like, does she fancy him as well?
Jesus, Mary, I think she'd take it. I'd say.
Oh no, Mary would. I thought
having a wine and a dance.
Yeah, I thought they had from the first episode.
See, that's the sort of thing, and I would like to say thank you to the casting directors of this show for picking someone who can actually shift on screen, because I'm still haunted by Colin Firth in Bridget Jones' Diary, the worst kiss of all time. So thank you. Emmet Scanlon can shift women. Well done. And the women can shift back. Now, what we've got in this, I'm just very happy. Now,
you've obviously examined that footage quite intimately.
I'm a bit like,
haunts my dreams. Worst shifts of all time.
Is this the end of Bridget Jones?
Yeah,
the end
when they
one,
shift.
with that kiss in the street.
Like he pecks at her like a bird.
I thought that was lovely. I thought that was quite romantic.
Sorry.
I'll take that over a whispering scary man that's trying to shift me. He was like, I love you, Roisin. What is that about?
So again, there's something wrong with me.
Whispering.
Because I still fancy him.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot going on here that brings us into the world of the supernatural.
Absolutely.
And this is very evident in this episode of the show. We've had little steps along the way. Now, in this show, we've had Claude, obviously, who's a psychic, but Hugh, gorgeous, lovely Hugh, Michael's dad, is the one who really brings it out this time, isn't it, Nadine?
Hugh, no, don't. I actually feel really emotional thinking about Hugh.
Lovely,
because I know how it's going to go down.
I know. We'll get to that. If you've seen it, you know what happens. May he rest in peace. Lovely Hugh.
I know. But the story of Hugh and his favourite friend when he was younger, growing up, Bridget, born in 1938, that Hugh apparently spent loads of time with.
Yeah.
But then she was never born. By the time, do you know what I mean? By the time he was, 8 years old.
She was dead.
She was already dead. But apparently they played together every summer for months and months and spent time.
It was like a Macaulay Culkin My Girl type situation. And then it was like, oh no, we don't need bees. She's already dead.
Yeah. But they already did the kind of I see dead people thing when he realises that no one had ever spoken to Bridget. He was the only one. But he told that story really well. I can imagine hearing it, sitting around my grandmother's house. It really did seem like something that would have happened, or a story that would have been told in an Irish village in the 40s. Yeah. So Bridget is she's an important character in this episode, even though Hugh actually never met her, I think, Gordon.
It puts the compassion in Hugh and gives him a bit more kind of volume as a character as well, because we know that he's kind of doddery, he doesn't really remember a whole lot of stuff, he's kind of out there, but these are kind of moments of clarity and moments of lucidity that we get from him at the table. Someone's like, stop telling out bullshit ghost stories and all, and he kind of stands up for himself, and there's a moment where we see at the start of the episodes where he's talking to Ophelia and he's mixing her up with Roisin, and which we kindly there's flashes now for Hugh for this episode where he's like, this is what happened to me and you can't tell me that what I think is not real.
I think it is real, by the way.
But the ghost story
existed. Sorry.
The ghost story is could be not real, but him defending himself saying, well, it is real to me because I felt it and I think it and I know it.
Jerry Adams made an appearance.
He did. He was there. And
the whole time.
But just the way he stands up for what he believes to be true.
Because he's like, Michael, you can't mess with my mind.
Exactly.
I saw her, and the whole thing is about Michael messing with people's minds.
Yes.
And he's like, don't you dare do
don't
this
believe
to
your
me.
own head.
Yeah.
But then he drops in this little nugget that's so important, and it's about the summer house in Knockdara and how Bridget would call him, essentially. And it was like, we weren't allowed to play together, but she would tell me that she was there. I gave her a key to the summer house, and she'd flash the lights on and off when she would tell me that she was there. And what do we see happening later on that night when Ophelia wakes up at ridiculous o'clock?
I wondered.
The lights flashing off and off.
That's the same area that she saw Roisin as a ghost. But did Michael go down and flick on and off the light switch to mess with her, or was that an optical illusion?
For hours.
Probably.
Yeah.
So is it that she is losing her mind and she's seeing it?
Possibly.
Or has Michael been really annoying the electricity grid by just flashing on lights on and off for 4 hours, going, I gave her that tea earlier on, her sleepy time tea. She should be waking up about now. I'm going to run down.
But he is in full manipulation mode. They're coming from the funeral, and his phone ring. He leaves his phone with Ophelia, and his phone rings, and it comes up Roisin. So she's getting the spooks already, do you know? And
I'd be gone. I'd just be gone.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're getting calls from a dead woman and then you're freaking out, but he's driving through the forest, and and Ophelia's like, Roisin rang you on your phone. Am I going crazy? Maybe he put a note to himself to say I'm going to flick on and off the light. I'm going to try and make her,
completely. Yeah.
It's very, very weird.
And he's got help with this. He's clearly got help. He's not doing this alone, let's be honest.
He doesn't, but he does use misdirection tactics. Yes. When she's starting to doubt herself, she's in town. There's been a knife in her bag, which we all saw. She's cut herself. Everyone in town is like, this girl is crazy.
And she's still there, though. Come on. You find a knife in your bag and you're still there.
But you feel that she's starting to question Michael and go, what's actually going on? But he gets her in the car and he calms her down by ringing Roisin's phone. And then it's Mary picks up. She's like, hello, I was trying to contact you. Hello, it's me, Roisin from the bar. Mary. I was trying to contact you earlier on. And he just hangs up on Mary. Rude. And then she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let's have some sex in the car. And we see when they get back to the house, she's all lovey-dovey again.
I actually can't. It's painful to watch.
Did you find it painful?
Yeah, it's so painful. To go from that mistrust and all of these clues and all of this evidence, I'll just ride Michael in the car and everything will be okay. Come on, Ophelia. She's slightly getting there, though. I can feel like something is opening up a little.
Opening up just a little bit.
Opening up just a little. It's like her mind is going, I wonder if all of this is true, which is great.
And she
Thank
does
God.
put the pieces together.
Yes.
She puts them together going, Annabelle, who is Annabelle?
Yeah.
Why has her brother mentioned a backpack? She goes into the crazy summer house. She finds the backpack and realises that Annabelle is the one who wrote the book, not Michael.
Oh yeah, big reveal.
The huge reveal. And
Huge
she figures
reveal.
it out because there is a quote used from Thomas Hardy in the book. And he said, I'm not a Hardy specialist. I don't like all Hardy there.
There's lots of explanatory flashbacks that really tie it all together. This is the tumble into explanation in this episode, big time.
And with all of this, we just find at the end that Michael, he's lost it because he's like, the brother, Richard's going to find out about me. He's going back to the house to get this. He hasn't disposed of the backpack. Michael, how do you let that slip your mind? Roisin's in the house holding the backpack. He's coming. What's going to happen? Doom, doom, doom. I was a bit, I had the old heart in the throat there for that bit.
I have to say, Ophelia's starting to get her nuts now. She's like, I'm pushing back. Michael's not going to, manipulate me. Or she was afraid of him, but not like afraid in a helpless way. She was hiding, holding the backpack in the little summer house. And Michael's coming back after having his altercation with Richard at the funeral, getting into the car. He screams like that scream. You know that it's falling apart for him.
There is a good bit when Ophelia's in the bedroom, do you remember? And the fake doctor thing.
Yeah.
That was good when she finally was realising that she's been completely duped in some way. When he's like, oh, the doctor said these pills are okay for you to take.
Yeah. And
just take them. And she's like,
And that he got his mate to pretend to be a doctor. It's like, why does everyone do what you say? Listen, there is so much going on. This is all about Michael lying and getting away with it. And it's just absolutely crazy.
But you still love him.
What about the massive reveal at the very, very end?
Are we allowed to talk about that reveal?
The camera pans.
Yeah?
Towards.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Roisin's alive. We don't have
I didn't know if you were allowed to say that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Roisin's alive all the time. Jeannie macaroni. I completely forgot about that.
Sitting holding a cup of tea, looking off into space.
She was switching that switch in the summer house.
Sitting with tea. What's going on with the tea and the Deceived? I wouldn't be having a cup of tea in Knockdara ever. Roisin is alive. Listen, there was so much in episode 3 that we couldn't do the full deep dive, but nothing like doing as much of a deep dive as we could in the time that we had with Nadine Reid and Gordon Rochford. As always, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our chats next week when the curtain will finally be pulled back and we get to see who the puppet masters really are in The Deceived. Gordon and Nadine, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks,
Muireann. See you later, guys.
You're not the first. You won't be the last.
And it's coming closer.
My wife is dead.
We set it in motion.
When are you going to see that man for what he is?
You're not well.
No, please.
Which one of us are they going to believe? I do wonder.
And it's coming closer.
Now, I am very excited to welcome to the podcast the creators of The Deceived, Lisa McGee and Tobias Beer, who we should point out are a real life couple. That's why you're seeing them both on screen before people write in and go, oh my God, coronavirus. Oh, what are they doing beside each other? Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, we're good. How are you?
It's lovely to talk to you about this show that I am enjoying so unbelievably, so much, because it does bring you back to those Daphne du Maurier books and kind of Hitchcock thrillers, which I believe you liked to watch when you were first dating, Lisa.
Yeah, that's right. We were kind of obsessed with all those old movies. Silent for Murder and Gaslight. And we kind of ran out and were desperate for other stuff in that genre to watch. And then we were thinking we could just try and write something. Because we're quite interested in seeing if we could do a sort of contemporary version of one of those stories and a bit more long form, you know.
Isn't that lovely, Tobias, to be like, oh, no one else is doing it. I suppose we'll just have to do it. It's kind of nice to have that talent, isn't it?
Well, there's never any guarantee, but it was nice to have such a joint interest that we'd shared for a long time. So when we started, we were quite on the same page about what we were trying to do, which was useful, I think. And
like this process for The Deceived, it started quite a few years ago, didn't it?
Yes, it was about, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, probably was the initial thing. We were on holiday and we were talking about it a lot, and then we did a document, a treatment, which we just sent in on spec, and luckily that was people quite liked that. And then, there have been various versions of it as we were trying to get it commissioned, and some versions were more explicitly ghosty, others were not ghosty at all. And what we've been left with now is actually very close to what we wanted to do in the beginning, which is something in between those things where the ghosty stuff is sort of ambiguous.
What are your views on, because the supernatural it's a character in this, Lisa. Do you believe?
I do, yeah. Toby doesn't. But he would always say that, like, I'm not afraid of ghosts, but he is, even though he doesn't believe in them. So it's just always been something that's been around for me and my family. And I mean, I'm not hugely into it or anything. I just sort of hedge my bets. So I wouldn't ever say, I don't believe. And it's, I was kind of, as Toby said, I was brought up with people always sort of talk about the time that, relatives talking about the time they, saw a ghost or whatever. It's just sort of part of our world, really. And I think the Catholicism thing is interesting because it doesn't always go hand in hand with Catholicism in all our parts of the world, but we have such a big sort of druid thing over it, don't we, in Ireland, that it's its own thing. So I would say I really believe.
I think what I realised quite quickly is that actually it's not about whether it's true or whether there are ghosts or whether any of it's true sort of objectively. The fact is it's a cultural phenomenon and it's a part of people's lives. So actually that's more interesting. That became more interesting to me than whether or not actually it's true or not in a sort of objective sense. So this is stuff that's going on and that's a rich sort of cultural thing.
It's an Irish thing, I think it's certainly part of our literary history as well. A play we were very much inspired by is The Weir, Conor McPherson's The Weir. So it's such a big part of Irish literature as well. Ghosts. There's a fascination with them in our culture. So I think that was really important for us.
How are your kids with it? Are they like, there's a ghost everywhere, I see dead people? No, not yet.
Not quite yet, no.
We were talking to Louisa at episode 1 and she said that she received a message, that all the girls in Derry Girls got a message going, can anyone sing from you, Lisa? So, and they're all like, nah. And next thing she was like, and then I had to sing. I felt like puking. This is terrible. How did your other Derry Girls react when you were like, yeah, Louisa, come on, let's do something else? Are they gunning for you?
I think they all know. And I'd like to hope we won't ever get rid of each other. And I like to think they all know we'll all work with each other and at different points on different things, So it's I don't think they'd have cared much the rest of them because they know I'll force them to do something else.
Well, that's the thing. You just have to divide it up. You've got Ian and Louisa in this one. The next one has to have 2 more until the end of time.
Everything will have Ian in it. It's actually illegal for him not to be in something that's filmed in Northern Ireland.
With this, you've been involved in stuff that has, taken off worldwide. I think the same is going to happen to The Deceived because of, exactly what it is. And it just felt like it filled a hole that I didn't know that I had when I wanted to watch something. But of course, now you've got Paul Mescal attached, who is the sun, moon and stars, it would appear, when it comes to putting someone into stuff. Tobias, that was pretty handy getting him, wasn't it?
It's incredible stroke of luck. And we can't, really the only person who can take any credit for him is our casting director, Louise Keeley.
Good old Louise.
Who had cast normal people. And we'd started, it was very early on, and we'd looked at a few people for sure, and we were sort of waiting and seeing who kind of. Then she said, right, I've got Paul Mescal's done a tape, but you just need, if you want him, you just need to ask now because he's not going to have, he's going to be gone. Yeah. He's going to be gone. So we said, oh, all right, yeah. I mean, he's great. And of course, he's brilliant. And it's been incredible what's happened to him. It's quite unusual nowadays for that to happen to someone, and he totally deserves it. And it's been great for us, of course, because of the people he's brought to the show, hopefully.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch. It all happened to him, hasn't it? It's just incredible.
Tobias Beer and Lisa McGee, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I really enjoyed that. Now, that's our lot for this week. We've got just one more episode to go, and no doubt the finale is going to be off the hook. Roisin, she's bleeding alive. What effect will her return have on the story? And will the mask finally slip from Michael's beautiful bearded face? Lots to delve into, as always. From me, Muireann O'Connell, we'll chat to you on the next Hooked on the Deceived.
When are you going to see that man for what he is?
Which one of us are they going to believe, I do wonder?
And it's coming closer.
Sponsored by Joe Duffy Group. Think cars, think joeduffy.ie.